The West Indies were mauled by the Bangladeshi Tigers as they go down to the team by 7 wickets with 8 overs to spare. Now Bangladesh won the toss and elected to bowl first, which was a very important decision in the scheme of the game, seeing that the pitch changed conditions as the day went on. Initially the pitch was, you could have seen that it was slow, and at the beginning of the innings which the West Indies batted for, there was a little more vibrancy in the pitch, but it soon died out throughout the day. Now this could have been seen by the way Chris Gayle was out. Even though the ball barely carried to Rahim in keeping, it still showed that it had something there for the seamers. However, the dismissal of Gayle brought together Evan Lewis and Shai Hope. Now the batsmen toiled for the early stages of their innings, finding it very hard to score against this stifling bowling attack of the Bangladeshis. But as time went along, they began to play their shots, find their gaps. But it was not made any easier by the Bangladeshi fielders, who were on top of every opportunity in the field. Any little ball that was a meter or so away from them, they were able to get to it and cut off certain boundaries, especially Shaifuddin, who was in fine leg and third man throughout the day. Eventually, Lewis and Hope marched on to make their respective 50s, with Lewis doing it in a quicker fashion, being more aggressive of the two. However, when Lewis fell, it brought together Pooran and Hope. Now Pooran has been one of the form batsmen for the West Indies in this tournament. However, he played his shots, but he wasn't able to push on to even making the milestone of a half-century this round. He fell for 25, but he played a nice little knock, holding the innings with Shai Hope. But when he was dismissed, the hard-hitting, aggressive Shemron Hetmyer came to the fore and scored a blistering 50 with no time. However, Hetmyer's mode of batting allowed Shai Hope to get in and look for the singles and try to build an innings which was supposed to be the anchor innings for the West Indies. Hetmyer, upon reaching his 50, fell right after, and you expected the hard-hitting Andrew Russell to come to the wicket and go ballistic the way how the other batsmen were in that form. It was not to be. Within 2 balls, he was out for duck, seeing that the 2 most experienced, internationally experienced players for the West Indies, being Chris Gayle and Andrew Russell, being out for duck. Now the wicket of Hetmyer and Russell fell in the same over to Mushfizur, who has been one of the key bowlers for Bangladesh in this tournament. He went for a little bit of runs, but he was quite accurate in his play, and his slower balls deceived the West Indian batsmen. However, the West Indians continued on scoring runs, with Jason Holder coming to the crease and scoring a blistering 33 as well. He scored, even recording the biggest 6 of the tournament. It was, if you haven't seen it, it was a massive shot. You can take a look at that. And after the fall of Holder, as well as Hope, and a little contribution by Darren Bravo at the end, the West Indies amassed a score of 321 after the 50 overs. Now, some people will say this is the West Indies' highest total of the tournament. There's no way they could lose this one. The bowling attack they have that has been so devastating in the last few matches could easily rack up this Bangladeshi outfit. Now, some cricket enthusiasts will see that that may not have been true, seeing that the Torton gong is quite small and the wicket was more suited for batting at this point, seeing that the pitch had gotten flatter throughout the day. So the West Indies will have to come out trumps with the bowling, but I know they will be right. They were riding high off of that high score, but unfortunately I believe it wasn't enough, because the rate they were going at, they could have recorded a score in excess of 360 as well as 380, and that would have been a little more competitive in my view. And also, despite the hard hitting and the quick scoring, there were a lot of dot balls by the West Indies that could have been converted into singles, which could have also allowed for the total to accumulate even higher. It was the West Indies' turn to take the field now. And with the bowling attack, again I mentioned before, you expect them to bowl out this Bangladeshi team. But I have mentioned in my last video that the Bangladeshis are quite familiar with the bowling outfit of the West Indies, and have grown quite accustomed to how they play. So the tactic of bowling short balls may have been good in Trent Bridge and so, but on this field, in this pitch particularly, I don't think it was the right choice. It may have ruffled a bit of the feathers of the batsmen of Bangladesh, but it wasn't a genuinely wicket-taking delivery on this pitch, seeing that the pitch was flatter and more suited for batting. And it showed by the strokes that the Bangladeshi players played. Most of the shots, if you look at it, was not between the V. If you look, most coaches tell you about, you look for your first 0 to 25 runs, you try to get it between the V, which is between long off or mid off, and long on or mid on. When you look at the shot, it was quickly, you could have seen it was more through point, and when it was more leg-sided, you can see it was more mid-wicket or behind square. Now, this showed that even though the West Indies generate a lot of pace, the ball sat up nicely for the batsmen, seeing that the wicket was flatter. So they were able to get on top of the ball. And if you look at most of the shots these Bangladeshi batsmen played, they were able to get on top of the ball and roll the wrist and keep it along the ground. So it wasn't any kind of chances created so to say that the ball will go up in the air and the West Indies will be able to get a simple catch in point or even cow corner. And if you could refer back to my last video where I talk on the tips that I think that would have been beneficial to the team, I believe it would have been if they had taken heed of my warning, seeing that in the field the West Indies were not as aggressive as they should have been. Barring that one run out by Sheldon Cottrell, which was, I must say, he was alert to the task and quick movement to get Tamil back out. In the field, the West Indies were a bit relaxed, and I find the field placement as well as the strategies of field placement were quite relaxed and reactive. They were going based on the shots played. So if a shot was played through point, they would try to move a player to point and then to cut off that run. But they were not attacking in their prowess. They were more, again I said, reactive. And I find for a team in a situation of a do-or-die game where this could determine whether they get into the semi-finals, I find that they should have been more mindful of that and employed those tactics earlier, as well as going back to the overuse the short ball. I understand you got success with the short ball in previous matches, but on this pitch you were supposed to be more mindful. Yes, the team may not be as experienced as other teams in the international circuit, but adjusting your length is more beneficial after a while. If you bowl a few overs and see that it hasn't been paying off, switching it up could be more beneficial. And you saw as well the Bangladeshis understand the situation, especially Mushfizur and Shaifuddin, mixing up their pace as well as having variations which paid off for them in the end. So I don't know if they could have taken a little page out of the book of the Bangladeshis tactics and employed it against the Bangladeshis as well. Because when you saw, again I talk about the wagon wheel where you see most of the shots going through point and down to third man, as well as square, behind square and cow corner. When you pitched up the ball, if you saw instances in the match where you pitched up the ball, they rarely got any runs. There was maybe even a single or dot balls they accumulated there. And well, obviously if you overpitch the ball then you'll pay, but once you get that accuracy and find that good length, it will trouble the batsman. Because look, if you watch how Gale out and how Andrew Russell out, it was a good length balls, which was more suited for this wicket, and they would have gotten not much but a little assistance from the wicket where it comes to the swing or seam aspect. Now, even though I have been talking about the West Indies here, I must shine a light on Shakib Al Hasan. Yes, I mentioned him in my last video as well, but he has been continuing with his form. He has shown more form with the bat than the ball, seeing that he is now the highest run scorer in the tournament and scoring another century. Now, his century was chanceless. Well, I wouldn't say his chances, made to have one or two chances where it fell to Shannon Gabriel down fine leg based on some short balls, yes, but he was controlled in his stroke play. He painted a masterpiece in batting. He played each ball on its merit. The bad balls were put away and he respected the good balls. So he was able to be that anchor to stand in solidarity and see his team throughout to the end, seeing that he came out not out. Now, he was partnered with Litton Das, who came in, and I find that at first he was very nonchalant in his shots because he was playing around Shakib's innings. But as the inning went on, he opened up and started to play his shots. And what some shots he played! He even hit I think it was 3 sixes in a row off of Shannon Gabriel's over. And it was the all parts. It was short, he put it away. When the pitch stopped, he put it over long off. It was well played by both batsmen, and it showed how coming together and keeping that steady head and playing each ball on the merit was beneficial for them, seeing the team over the line. And they did it with 8 overs to spare, which is mind-boggling, seeing that they were chasing a score in excess of 300. Now, what does this mean for the West Indies? It seems that they may be 1 foot out of the door of the World Cup when it comes to the semi-final period, but they still have a mathematical chance of getting through, but they'll have to come out on top against teams like New Zealand, the mighty India, Afghanistan, who have troubled them of late, and Sri Lanka, who is quite unpredictable on their day. So we could all hope, cross our fingers, and see if they could build on what they could learn from these losses and try to strengthen and finish the tournament strong. We'll have to wait and see how that turns out.